And we are now live. This is Thursday, March 26th, and we're here with Andrew Smith and Bill Hark and myself, and we're going to talk about our experiences in chasing with hail. Now, typically, storm chasers, at least smart storm chasers, try to avoid hail because it can do things like really mess you up. Like if you happen to lose a windshield or whatever, it can just ruin the chase for you, not to mention be a little bit expensive. Mm-hmm. So the idea is to miss the hail shaft. Sometimes it doesn't happen, though. Sometimes you get stuck. And we'll talk about some of those instances tonight, I'm sure. So let me hand it over to Andrew. If those of you who don't know, Andrew is a former Hokie storm chaser with the Virginia Tech Storm Chase team, and he also chases for CBS 6 in Richmond, his television station in Richmond there. So, Andrew, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, like you said, my goal chasing has always been to avoid the hail. Chasing in a personal vehicle, I don't want, it's my day-to-day vehicle, so I don't want hail damage on it. I take pride in my vehicles and don't want to be busting windshields and whatnot. So in the past, I've done a pretty good job avoiding hail. I've got two stories to tell this evening. One I've got good video on. The other is just kind of a word of mouth story. But the word of mouth story was my one hail encounter here in Central Virginia. I was back in about 2013, I believe. I think it was 2012. I was chasing a storm that had fired kind of up in the Culpeper, Orange County area, and was kind of just meandering southeast, kind of slowly through Spotsylvania. Just kind of a summertime northwest flow thunderstorm situation, and had really, really good structure. It was a small, dense storm, really good structure, really strong reflectivities on radar, so I knew it had hail in it. But from where I was sitting, I was just north of Partlow, Virginia, in Spotsylvania County, and I was watching the base coming right at me, and I was watching the radar too. I was doing a little too much radar watching on this, thinking I was okay because I was doing too much visual looking. I could see the base of the storm. I'm like, well, there's no hail coming at me because I can see clean underneath the base of the storm. There's no precipitation falling whatsoever, even though the radar was indicating this big area of really 70, 80 vils on the vertically integrated liquid scan was coming right at me. And I was like, something's not adding up here. And so I just kind of went with my gut, looking straight ahead and not seeing anything. I was like, well, I'm just going to sit here and let this thing kind of pass over me. And next thing I know, these quarters and golf balls are starting to fall on the ground around me. And I said, uh-oh, my instinct didn't go very well here. So I hightailed it out of there, trying my best to, not lose a windshield or anything, going at a higher speed to get out of there. But it just kind of goes to show that sometimes the radar knows what it's talking about, and not always trust what you can see out there, especially with hail, because it's not like rain where it's so densely, the droplets are so dense that they kind of cloud out the sky, at least from that vantage point. So my instincts there kind of failed me. But not my fun story happened on my very first Hokie storm chase back in 2008. It was one of the days in late May, in one of those prolific days in late May in western Kansas. And we had been chasing all day, just up and down, north-south all day, going around in circles, just one storm after another. And then right at the end of the day, we had this one last storm start coming up at us towards us in Wakini. So we dropped south. We were about to call it a night, head to our hotel, and we had this warning pop up. So we drove down Route 283 out of Wakini and watched this ominous dark storm come across with a real defined lowering. And behind it was all this really deep orangish colors because the sun was kind of poking through the precipitation on the backside. Storm managed to drop a tornado right in front of us on this little dirt road. And then we realized we needed to get out of where we were because there was a hook coming around the tornado that was going to nail us. But we didn't get out of there in time. So our experience was a nighttime hook in Kansas. And I've got some video here that I will cue up here.
This storm is amazing. The coloration on it.
Okay, right here we realized we need to get out, and then famous last words.
We're going to get hooked if we don't get out of here.
And next thing we know, we can't see a thing. I'm sitting on the left-hand side of the van getting pelted by hail.
We're gonna pull over. Oh my God.
We could barely hear each other talk in the van.
How big was the hail? Could you tell?
I don't think it got much bigger than maybe quarters. It didn't, miraculously, it didn't do any damage to the van. When we just, for as long as we were sitting there being pelted by it, like I said, I was sitting on the side of the van that was in the direct path of the wind. Stop the share here. I thought for sure the side of the van was going to be peppered in dents just from the sound of it. But once we got out of there and we kind of got out and could see what was going on, the van was fine. So I don't think it was much bigger than quarters, maybe. Might have been a golf ball in there or something like that. I don't remember seeing much reports from storm reports afterwards of much large hail. And the storm itself wasn't very big. I don't think the storms that day were very prolific hail producers, given how fast they were moving, and they're very skinny storms. They weren't kind of the big monsters that tend to drop the softballs and grapefruits and whatnot. But it was, we had two vans out there, and our van was kind of like, whoa, that was intense. And the other van, when we rendezvoused with them, they were all like, they had a totally different experience than we did. Like, we kind of went like that was amazing. Next van was ready to hightail it back home to Virginia to never do that.
Yeah, it's interesting how different people react to stuff like that. And of course, was it your van or the other van that I remember hearing the story about the tornado was kind of backlit by the sun and passed right in front of them? Yeah,
so we were in the van that was behind the one. So we had the video of it going right in front of the van. So they had the bird's eye view. If I showed the video again, backtracked it, you'd see that, and you can see the tornado coming down. But I figured since this was a hail talk, we didn't need to see footage of a tornado. But I will say that happened on my first storm chase out there. It wasn't our first day or anything out there. It actually was after a long dry spell we've been out there. But it gave me a lot of respect for maintaining a safe distance from the tornadoes and keeping your head on a swivel as to not only what's going on with the tornado, but you got to look at what's going on around it, because you have hooks like this that are going to come get you if you're not paying attention. And especially at night like this, it's even more terrifying, because me being a rookie at the time, I had no idea what was coming. I knew there was a tornado that just went west of us by half a mile, but I'm looking at GR level 3 at the time, and it had TVS signatures all over the place around us. And I'm thinking, what if this little satellite tornado or another small mesocyclone spins up and drops a tornado right on us? But Dave Carroll, the trip leader, told us afterwards he wasn't really worried the whole time, because the wind kept going from left to right. If it had turned and gone from right to left, it would have been a whole nother story.
Yeah, that would have been a little bit different positioning for you guys.
Yeah. So, but it was a very, very good learning experience as a storm chaser to kind of. I don't recommend everybody to do it. We lucked out that it didn't cause much damage to our vehicles, and gave us a good story to tell from that trip.
Yeah, I think sometimes the mistakes we learn more from the mistakes we made than the successes we have.
Yeah, I would firmly agree with that.
All right. Well, hey, Bill, let's turn it over to you and hear about some of your experiences with hail.
Well, I don't really have a whole lot of experience, because I do my best to avoid hail.
Yeah.
So I've never really had any significant car damage. Now, on more than one occasion, I have crossed the hail path of a storm out in Kansas or Nebraska, and that's one thing when we think about the danger of hail, and we think about the hail actually falling on you. But after the storm is passed, if you drive across one of these hail swaths, that can be quite treacherous. And there's been more than one occasion where I've hit the hail swath and basically slalomed in a car for like a couple of miles, because the hail was as bad as snow. Mm-hmm. I've almost gone in a ditch from just slipping and sliding from hail.
Right. Yeah.
But,
I'll have something here in a little bit to talk about that because I've had experience with that too. So, but how large of a hail have you come across out west?
I've had some pretty big pieces. I'm going to pull up a photo here, which is a few inches in diameter. This was near Bison, Kansas, in 2008. Would I have to hit share screen?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Is it coming up or no?
No. You hit share screen and then pick the right tab or screen that you're going to go to.
Okay.
Whatever you're using for a picture viewer.
Can you see it now?
No, unless you can, Andrew. I don't see anything.
No, I can't. It's still just Bill.
Yeah, it should give you the option when you hit share screen to pick like an application window or a Chrome tab or a browser tab.
Okay, I got the. Yeah, this is a few inches in diameter, and you can actually see it in the background.
Well, sometimes using a hammer works too.
Okay, here. Oh, okay. Is it showing it now?
No. I'm hoping it's not something just with your computer because I don't know what else to do from this end.
Yeah, it gives me it's showing me a little picture in the box.
And then you have to pick. I think it says application or browser tab.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I
And
see like
actually,
3 things.
it's showing the image that I want to share.
Let's see.
But then for some odd reason, where it says allow, it's kind of blanked out a little bit.
Because when I do that, like I hit application window and it comes up, and it comes up in the application window, and I can hit my, like for instance, I'll just show this, and that's the picture that I had on my application window just from sharing. So.
Oh, well, why don't you go ahead and talk, and I'll play with this for a second.
Okay. Yeah, I had pulled together a few things. Let me check my stuff here. I've got one just as I don't have any pictures, but it was my first encounter with large hail was on my first storm chase out west, which was back in May of 2002. I was out there with my brother and my son and I, and neither my brother nor my son had ever chased, or my brother or myself had ever chased before, but my son had. So we were relying on him. So we were out there, we'd waited on storms to fire, and we were, if you know where the town of Larned, Kansas is.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of north of Greensburg and Pratt in that area.
Pratt, of course you were at Pratt.
Of course. Well, where do you think I got it from? But anyway, we were on a storm there, and it fired, and we traveled south and kind of paralleled it, and actually saw my first tornado that day. But then the storm itself, we kind of got backtracked on because we were on some back roads, and we were trying to maneuver our way ahead of the storm. We finally found a nice paved road headed due south, right in front of the storm. And I thought we could make it. And I was driving my brother's SUV, and we weren't able to make it very well. So, hey, let me see, Bill. What do you guys showing there? Okay, I see that. I see some pictures up now.
That's some good size hail there.
That is.
You can see it, and well, if you look on the background, the hail had actually made little dents in the road.
Oh wow!
That's the biggest I've seen. That was in Kansas near Oklahoma border.
So was that about baseball, a little bigger?
Maybe slightly, maybe about baseball size, I think.
Baseball. Wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to drive into that.
No way.
So
Believe it or not, the biggest hail I've ever seen was here in Central Virginia. Is golf balls. They're good sized golf balls way back in.
oops, what happened? Bill just
Oop.
got kicked out.
Hmm.
I don't know if I did it or if he did it.
They may have accidentally. Oh, there he is.
There's Bill. I don't know if I did it or you did it, Bill.
That's weird.
So, yeah, that's some pretty large hail. That's actually larger than any hail I've come across. Well, at least that I've been able to hold. Because this story I was telling you about, we were trying to dive south in front of the mesocyclone, and we didn't make it. We were going down this paved road, and the hail kept getting bigger, and it kept getting louder. And as Andrew showed in that one video clip, we were literally having to scream at each other to hear each other because it was so loud inside the vehicle. And I could look. I mean, they got up to about golf balls, and I could look down the road, and there were bigger ones bouncing off the asphalt ahead of us. So I kind of slammed on the brakes. Fortunately, there's nobody else around. Nobody else was stupid enough to do what we were doing.
Before core punching was a thing.
Exactly. And actually, it wasn't core punching. This stuff was centrifuging out ahead of the mesocyclone.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the wall cloud stuff wasn't that far off to our west, but we weren't directly underneath it.
Right.
So we slammed on the brakes. I did a U-ey in the road, and we found a dirt road that headed east. And I don't know how we were doing highway speeds on a dirt road. Let's just put it that way.
That's always fun.
Yeah. And that was my first encounter with large hail. And in the meantime, of course, this is a fairly new SUV my brother had bought. He was screaming at me to get out of there, get out of there. And then he took a look at the speedometer and said, slow down, slow down. I said, what do you want me to do? I can't do both.
Drive slow quickly.
Yes, exactly. Just get out of the way. But after that, a couple other experiences I had with hail. Let me just share this screen here. Let's see. I think I've got the picture queued up I want to talk about. Yeah, this was the first large hail, relatively large hail I came across here in Virginia. This was back in 2003. This is up near Bealton, up in near Fauquier County, if you're familiar with that area.
That's decent.
This is a storm that came. Yeah, it is. It was a storm that came up. It was more of a line, kind of a line segment rather than a discrete storm. So I was just trying to stay ahead of it, and it wound up catching me and dumping the stuff on top of me. I mean, it was just coming down like in buckets. This was afterwards, after a lot of it had melted. In fact, I called in a hail report to the National Weather Service. They could barely hear me. It was so noisy inside the car. But they were close to quarter size or about that. My next experience with hail here in Virginia was what you were talking about, Bill. This is in April of 2006, actually in King George County, east of Fredericksburg. A hailstorm had come through, and that's not snow, like Bill talked about. That's hail, and there was actually hail fog because the air at the ground had been cooled so much, and of course it was fairly moist, from the rain and the humidity. But we had to slow down because A, we couldn't see very well, and B, like you said, it was slippery. You actually had to be careful driving on it. But none of it was very big. This is the same storm. This is about the biggest stone we could find, and there was maybe nickel sized. So, but there was just lots of it. It was a very prolific storm.
That usually seems to be the story around here in Virginia. Is you get small hail, but you can get a lot of it to cover the ground like that.
Exactly. And that's one of the, I guess you'd call it a hazard, if you will, of storm around here. I'll switch hats here to a storm that I think you were chasing with us out there, Andrew, in 2011. This was in Nebraska.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This was
nice ball cloud.
Yeah. This is east of York. We were basically paralleling this storm. It was just to our north, and we were heading east. And this had a nice little collar wall cloud with a little bit of a funnel there. And we were heartily glad that we were staying out of the hail shaft, because all the reports we were hearing there was windows in cars and getting busted out, windows in houses are getting broken. If I remember right, I think we talked to somebody that had stopped kind of near where we were, and talking to him, and I think he had been talking to his wife, and they had all sorts of damage at their property. So we were just very glad that we didn't go in there.
Mm-hmm.
After this storm had gone by, we actually punched north a little bit to kind of get behind it, and we came across hailstones that had probably been lying near the side of the road at least maybe 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So they had been there for quite a while. Well, here's one of them, and that's a quarter. I think
Oh,
that's
that's good.
I think that's Catherine Prosop's hand. I think, if I remember right.
Looks like her jacket. Yeah.
But that's the size, and that was what was left after 20 minutes of melting on the side of the road, and there was a whole bunch of these scattered all over the place. I've heard it since. I forgot that it happened when it did, but I've heard Dave Carroll, who's the Hokie Storm Chase leader, talk about this later. While we were stopped, everybody was kind of combing through the grass, picking these things up, and somewhere along the line, somebody had picked up a box of white powdered donuts at a convenience store. So while we were all out there picking these things up, he picks up a couple of those donuts and chucks them up in the air, and they land, and people start looking around like, what was that? What was that? What was that? And we all thought it was more hailstones, but it was just donuts.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that story right before you said it. That was a classic Dave moment there.
So that was in 2011 in Nebraska, and then this was the 21st of May. And then I think it was about, 10 days later or so, this may have been the same storm you were talking about, Andrew, in June of 2011. I think I was on the other side of the storm from you.
You're right. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I was in Orange County, and here was some of the stones that I picked up after the storm went by. But let me stop sharing this, and I think I've got the video pulled up here, and I'll let you hear what it sounded like from my position. Let's see. Let's do this and that. How's that look? You see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see if this plays here.
No sound though. I don't know if it was supposed to be sound or not.
Okay. Yeah. For some reason, I don't think it's going to do this. Can you hear anything now?
No. Did you do an entire screen or application?
This is the in a Chrome tab.
Did you click share audio at the bottom?
Let me see
That may.
if I can get it to do this. No, I don't know if I can get it to happen or not.
Okay. Yeah, when I go to share for a Chrome tab, there's a little option down at the bottom to share the audio as well.
Yeah. All right, let me. Anyway, I'll try that again here just real quick. Chrome tab. Yes, there we go. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can do this again. Anyway, to give you the background on this storm, I was sitting watching another storm just to my north. I was positioned just right. It was passing by just to my north, watching the rain shaft. And this cell blew up literally right over top of me. I mean, by the time it went from nothing to a radar sweep, I was in the middle of the hail. And so
Wow.
it kept getting bigger, and I was afraid to get out on the highway because I was pulled off the road. Because, again, I didn't want a busted windshield from adding forward speed to this. So let me see if I can make this work now. We'll go back here. Let me see. Can you guys see that?
Yep. And we got sound.
Warned, and now I'm seeing hail. Yeah. Marble sized, probably ½ inch. Sure you can hear it. You can see it bouncing down there.
Every one of those pings just sounds painful.
Oh, yeah. It gets bigger and louder.
Just all of a sudden it intensified.
Did you sustain any damage?
I had a few dents, nothing huge.
A lot more lightning than it was.
If I had gotten out on the highway, like you see these vehicles go by, I'm sure the dents would have been a lot bigger.
It's about half inch.
Pretty good splashes in the puddles there.
Yep. And now they're all about an inch now at this point.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's time to move. We'll keep that. They ratcheted up to where they're all about an inch now.
Yeah, you can see these vehicles going by at 55 miles an hour. I'm just amazed that there weren't any windshields busting out.
Was this on the side of 15?
No, this was, let me see here. Trying to remember what road that is. Oh, come on, stop. Trying to get that thing to stop. I think it was 522. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think it was coming down from basically from Unionville southeast. So that was my first experience with getting hailed on in my own chase mobile, and you could, Bill, to answer your question, otherwise you could see some dents if you looked at it in the right light, but they weren't really noticeable otherwise. So I wasn't too awfully worried about that. But that was that same storm that Andrew was talking about. And then just real quickly here, I can do a share screen and look at some other pictures here. There's those stones from the June 2011. This is from the May 27th, 2017, and this is in Nottoway County. We had chased this storm east. Basically, I guess it was at this point we were northeast of Farmville, I believe. And this storm, we had stayed out of the hail, but it went ahead of us and dropped a bunch of these. That's a quarter, I guess I'm holding in my hand to give you an idea how big they were. And I actually picked up one of the stones and put it on the hood of my car because the sun was shining brightly at this point, just to give me an idea what the structure looked like. You can see the air bubbles and the kind of the nucleus down in here. Was kind of cool. And then we were on a side road, just on a dirt road, on a gravel road. We pulled off one, and this was the kind of leaf damage, hail damage that was from that, just all those stones falling down, ripping leaves off. So that was kind of an interesting chase there. Actually, that was with mine. So, and let's see, a couple more pictures. This is from, again, this is 2017. This is here in the Roanoke Valley, just north of Roanoke, on September 20th. Hail bows. Yeah, because the lighting and everything was just right, and this storm was actually kind of petering out, and it was kind of dumping its last little gasp of hail. And because you can see the white streaks there, and we were getting some pretty good bows. I thought that was kind of cool. And one more. This was from out west. This was 2018 Hokie storm chase. I don't have any pictures of the hail, but this was a storm near Quinter, Kansas, and actually we're pulled off on the side of I-40 there. Basically, the traffic was almost stopped because of the storm was straddling the interstate. We actually drove underneath that RFD there.
Oh, wow.
Not by choice. I mean, we thought the storm was on the other side of the road, and Dave pulls out on 40, and we all started heading east, and we're in 3 minivans. And I made this brilliant statement over the radio. Said, if I didn't know better, I think we're driving right through the RFD cut. Sure enough, the hail started coming down, and it was getting big, and we were hoofing it to get out of there because we didn't want damage to the chase fans, and especially with the equipment and everything. So I mean, you could literally see the stones flying, coming down at you, just like somebody was hitting, flinging them at you with a slingshot. So, and we had no idea how big they were going to get till we got on the other side. So I actually, without saying anything to anybody in my van, I kind of reached down and grabbed my sunglasses and put them on just in case the windshield decided to splinter. Because we're doing 70 or plus on the interstate trying to get out of there, and who knows what was going to happen. So, but those are some of my experiences with hail, both here in Virginia and out west. And I think from the pictures you've seen and the videos you've heard, typically the hail out there can get a whole lot bigger than it can back here.
I do. If I can get this share screen to work, I do have a short video of that hail that I showed you the image from earlier.
Oh, cool.
If I can get this to work here. Okay. Do you see anything?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna hit play. Can you all see the video screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna hit play.
Oh, wow.
That big hail. Look at the crater in the dirt.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
That is insane.
And look what we got out here. I got a big wall cloud. Wow, look at the size of this hail.
Jeez.
Big hail.
Yeah, my wife gives you baseballs, you know.
That is spiky. Look at this. This thing is huge. Look at this hail.
Jeez. So you were actually trailing this storm?
Yeah, we were trailing behind it.
Cool.
Yeah,
And so that would do a number on a windshield. So
Yeah, not to mention a head.
I've got a neat picture I was able to dig up from 2008. A neat picture of a hail shaft on the backside of the storm, and a monstrous hail shaft. Let me get the share screen going here. And this was outside Big Spring, Texas.
Ah, been there a few times.
This was a storm that we positioned ourselves too well. We got to it right as it was firing off. It was just northwest off of Interstate 20 in Big Spring. And I mean, we were in perfect position. The wall cloud and everything went by us just to our north. But unfortunately, northwest of Big Spring, the road networks aren't very good. It starts to get very isolated and dirt roads, and
Right.
they don't tend to continue very long. So we wound up losing the storm because it was going down a path that we just couldn't. We tried keeping up with it on a dirt road, and it was just going too fast. The insult to injury was it wound up dropping an elephant trunk tornado that everybody and their brother driving on Interstate 20 saw as they were rolling through Big Spring, or just east of Big Spring. But the neatest thing about this storm, from us tailing it, was just looking at this hail shaft on the backside of it. I mean, it's just this giant white cloud of just draping off the back of the storm. And when we were a little closer to it, before it got away from us, the sound, we stopped and we rolled down the windows, and the sound that the storm was producing was this very ominous, like metallic, hollow sound. And it was
oh wow,
really loud for as far away from the storm as we were.
Huh.
But it was one of the eeriest sounds I've heard, you know, especially the sun was beating down on us, you know, hadn't rained where we were, but just seeing that kind of cloud formation and just hearing that noise is very surreal.
Huh. How far off would you say that storm was?
This picture is probably a good 5 or 6 miles from us at this point, if not more.
Okay. Right.
Let me see if I've got another one to pull up. I need to find my actual album of pictures from this storm chase, because all I have is Facebook from way back in the day. Let me share this screen. So this is when we were closer to it. This is when we were next to it, and I could hear the hollow noise. So you can tell we're a lot closer now. You can't see the top of the storm or anything. So here,
Yeah.
the storm was probably about 3 or 4 miles away, I would say.
Okay.
And so that's when the noise was pretty intense. I think that other picture, the storm had started leaving us in the dust, and we'd either turned around at that point and we're trying to get back to the main road to get back to the interstate, or we had just found a little pull off on this dirt road to take a look. But that was a good storm. And we went through Colorado City a little bit afterwards, and actually I've got a picture of it here. The streets were flooded, and then in areas where the water receded, there were just piles of hail along the sides of the roads where the floodwaters had kind of pushed it. But there's nothing much bigger than peas or nickels or dimes out there, so nothing big that we saw. But just first time I'd ever seen hail piled up like that.
Yeah, it can get pretty prolific. I mean, when especially out on, probably we've all seen pictures out on the Texas Panhandle where they're using snow plows to clear the roads because they're so full of hail.
Yeah.
So it's pretty awesome stuff. I tell you that I can, and especially with the storms that produce hail, they usually have pretty good structure on them too. So I can get just as excited watching a storm like that, and not having to see a tornado, as long as you stay out of the hail. That's
Yeah, sure.
so.
Yeah, I guess when you think about it, the dynamic it takes for a storm to produce large hail, that you got to have a very intense storm to be able to keep the hail lofted that long. Tornadoes can happen in many different kinds of storms, not necessarily pretty storms, very photogenic storms. They run a bigger gambit, but the big hail like that, you're usually dealing with the motherships usually, or the big honkers down in Southwest Texas in the summer.
Yep. I've seen a couple of those LP storms, and they're just dynamic and just awesome to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So anything else, Bill? Can you think of anything else that any other experiences you had with hail?
No, I just really try hard to avoid it. And the main thing that would suck is to get your windshield trashed, and then you miss out on a really good chase day the following day because you're trying to get your windshield repaired. So
yeah.
Now I've got some friends that have attached hail guards to their vehicle, and they get in a little bit close, but too close for my enjoyment.
Yeah. If you're that close, you're not seeing anything. You're just getting pummeled by hail.
Yeah, that's more experiencing it rather than seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing I do now take when I go chasing is I have a pair of safety goggles that I put with easy access, and also some earplugs too, and have those ready just in case I get caught in the hail.
Yeah, I can understand that, especially the earplugs. Just, if you're the only one in the car, as long as you don't have to talk to anybody else. So. Well, all right, gentlemen. Maybe if we come up with another topic to talk about for chasing, we can do that again while we're waiting on things to happen. We did talk a little bit about this upcoming Sunday. There may be a setup coming through Virginia. It depends on how things look and as the shorter range models come into play. But I'm not willing to stray really far from home given the situation right now. But if it's somewhat, within an hour or so, I might be tempted to go out.
Yeah, there's a big discussion online about how far people are going to chase, and and whether you should do overnight chase expeditions. This year I'm actually canceling my usual second 2 weeks of May storm chase trip.
Yeah, I can understand why. Even here in Virginia, the fact that I chase for a local station here kind of gives me a little bit of impetus. Hey, I need to get out if there's severe weather to give some more advance notice of it. But it doesn't mean I'm going to maybe run as far as I would go for a marginal risk or something that doesn't look very, very enticing. It might have to be more of a major setup for me to actually go very far.
Yeah, it's just a matter. I mean, as long as you stay in your car, you'd be okay. But if you're out there for hours at a time, it's harder to do that. And, try to find food, unless you bring something with you, it's kind of the last thing you want to be trying to do. So. Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody's got to make their own choices, but, I'd rather be safe than sorry, and keep away from things. Even going to a gas station or something is even something to maybe avoid. So we'll see what happens, but I'll keep an eye on Sunday and we'll see if we go out.
Yeah, that works.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for your images. And we'll do this again, maybe with another topic if we come up the top of our heads. I know we could probably fill up a whole show talking about storm chasing busts,
You show all these models of impressive setups that wind up doing diddly.
And then showing blue sky. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, been there too.
All right. Thanks a lot. And thanks for watching tonight. We're going to end this here and hope you guys have a good evening.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody.